This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
Richie, it looks like you're out of quarantine. You said you were going to be really anxious to finally get back. And how good does it feel to be back around the team after having to miss last week's games?
Yeah, it's hard to be away from a team that, number one, you adore, but number two, we've been together since middle of June, even though not practicing. We've been in close proximity for almost 6-7 consecutive months. So that's been difficult. Yet I always say that it's important that our pursuit is to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, and certainly there's a little bit of feeling of that you're not needed when you're away, especially when we play as well as we did on Saturday. But that being said, it's just nice to be back doing something you love around a group of people that you love, staff and players included.
Coach, could you describe what that was like? Like, what were you doing during those games? Where were you? What was it like? And could you have any interaction at all? Like, would Seuss have like 45 text messages at halftime when you get back to the locker room? Like, do you have any interaction at all during that whole time span?
I was downstairs in our basement and watching it on the big screen, and we got down 24, so I wasn't very talkative. And Luke and Gabriel, Luke's girlfriend Kate and Julie were all down in the basement, and there wasn't a whole lot of cheering going on. So I went up at halftime. I went upstairs in my room. Was a little frustrated, probably not the most talkative or in the best of mood, but we were coming back, so I tried to stay in the bedroom as long as I can. Not that I'm superstitious, but we didn't get the desired outcome. And but the second night, Julie and I just watched it from actually from our bed, because both of us by then were not feeling great, and that was a lot easier to endure. And as far as text messages, there may have been a text message that was sent. I'm not quite sure.
Coach, when you're watching a game like that, did you have it on mute, or are you listening to what the announcers have to say?
We had a combination of AY and the TV broadcast, but AY's broadcast was delayed, so my family was getting confused, so we ended up turning that off. No offense to AY. But I don't really listen to what they say. I kind of watch it as a coach, not as a fan. And like, I watch every game like that. Unfortunately, when I went to the Nets playoff game a couple of years ago to see Joe Harris, I was watching it as a coach, and Bomani was sitting right behind me. And, it's just different when you're in the arena and you do this for a vocation, and when you're a fan.
And your games against FGCU were canceled, and now you're playing Kennesaw State this weekend. From a planning perspective, is there much change that goes into that when you go from preparing for one team? I know that FGCU games were canceled last week, but then all of a sudden you're switching gears midweek to get prepared for the Owls.
Yeah, John, you've been around us enough to know that we kind of focus on ourselves, and we'll scout the opponent. Obviously, we'll try and make adjustments or bring attention to things that are absolutely necessary in terms of our keys to victory. But we just are who we are, and we don't change for the opponent. We try and find the best version of ourselves that we can. So it hasn't been too much different. And I will say Amir's got a really good team this year. Although young, if not for their youth, they'd probably be about 6-3 right now, and they played very good basketball of late here in the last 25 days. So it'll be a tall task. These back-to-backs, guys, they're different. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the beginning of the season when we went in Florida at the Space Coast Challenge, it was back-to-back, but it was two different opponents. And then we went to Kansas City back-to-back again, but two different opponents, and even the non-ones that we played back-to-back. I just think there's a mental part of it that you have to be really, really prepared for. I'll give you a case in point. I think I watched about I want to say over 50 games while I was quarantined. And I just happened to tune in to Boise State, San Jose State, where Boise State beat them by 52 on one night. And the next night I watched the game and San Jose State missed a shot at the buzzer to win. How do you explain that? I think Boise State's net is in the top 25, and the Boise State's record is, or San Jose State's record is 1-7. There's a mental part of this, and you got to have some maturity and some toughness in order to get a sweep.
Coach, are you doing something to mentally prepare your players or maybe the younger guys for these back-to-backs? And how are you adjusting the practice schedule and workload during the week?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple other coaches, some in the Missouri Valley and Mountain West that are doing it, just trying to pick up some ideas. But I think overall what we do every day is kind of our MO and the way we approach things. We're not a program that has a lot of glitz and glamour to it. We just try and roll up our sleeves and earn what we're hoping for. So I think our younger players, it's at the point in time of the season where, you can't really hang it on being a freshman. You've had 13 games under your belt, and you know our system now. It's just a matter of, staying mentally connected and focused throughout the course of a 40-minute game.
With this group having a weekend of playing back to back, how much does that help from the perspective that they were down 24 in the first game, they were up 24-23 in the second game, that they know in the ebbs and flows of games things can change in a heartbeat, and that you got to take each game as it comes and be prepared for both games during a weekend?
Yeah, I'll tell you on Sunday or Monday when we talk to them. You guys, Elijah Cuppy's played. He's 89-29. He's played in a lot of games. Darius McGee, he's played in a lot of games. Keegan McDowell. I think the older guys get it. I think the younger guys are watching them closely and know that their way on the floor is to try and impact winning. So they've settled into a role. So, but again, there's an obstacle that occurs during every game. And when you're in that tunnel of chaos or that adversity strikes, your ability to respond rightly will directly affect your impact on our team. And so we just try and put them in environments and educate them as to how do we rightly respond to this moment.
Coach, you've had a lot of success with grad transfers the last few years. Is Chris Parker the perfect guy that you needed to plug into this lineup and roster, as you're trying to replace those 4 seniors from last year?
Yeah, he's been really good for us, John. I told AY on the radio, you never know what you expect. There's some trepidation. I never saw him play live. I had no idea. And sure, we talked on the phone a bunch and even on the computer screen. But look, when you spend face-to-face time, you really get to know a person. And when you watch a game, we're watching other stuff than like most coaches nowadays can tell whether you can make a shot, defend a guard, or defend his player. But there's the other stuff that's so important to us. So, but man, he's been really, really special. He's just got this knack, and he doesn't always show it. He kind of waits and waits and waits, and then when he thinks it's necessary, he floors it. And when he floors it, man, he's really good. And what I love most about him is I think he's created opportunities for other guys that has really been necessary for our offense to flow the way it has.
You look at a player like Kyle Road, and he was a scoring machine in high school. And this year, I think most of us outside the program expected him to take a leap forward in scoring, but it seems like he's doing everything, every little thing to help this team win, from facilitating, rebounding, and then scoring when needed. And are we just seeing a player who fits into the system and does what's needed, and when he needs to take over, can take over?
He's invaluable. He does everything necessary for a team to have success. Like we've got a couple of guys that will sacrifice their numbers for the betterment of our group, and Kyle Rote is one of them. So I don't measure his contribution by his stats. You would be unwise to do that if you're trying to build a program that has sustainable success. What he does on the floor is he really connects us.
How have you seen Blake Preston's game evolve and grow, and just what he's been able to contribute for you guys this season? I know he's getting more minutes than last year, but what can you say about his development?
Not surprised that he's starting to grow into the player that he's growing into because of how competitive he was against Scotty and Mayo last year. I said all along, if those two didn't split minutes like they did, Blake would have played a lot more, and it would have been better for our future. But obviously, we had a good season with Scotty and Mayo sharing that 5-man role for us. But Blake's a warrior. He's physical. He's compliant. He does anything you ask him to do. He's incredibly coachable. But I only think he's scratching the surface. I think there's more for Blake. There's a higher role for him from a number standpoint eventually. Can he do it in a given game? Absolutely. But it's not like we're playing through him like we did Scotty's on occasion last year or Mayo. But I think Blake will work himself into that. Now, he's not quite needed to do that this year because we have so many other pieces. So I like the balance that he's submitted to in order for our team to have some success.
Amir posted this on social media the other day after their series against Jacksonville, where he said, there were times, I don't know if you got a chance to watch their games against Jacksonville, but there are times that they were down big, and then he said in those games last year they would have lost by 25, and this year he's found a team that can claw back, get to within a possession, and make the game competitive late. What have you seen growth-wise in this program in his second year, even though they don't have a D1 win this year, that they've been playing much better?
They were in a 2-possession game with Belmont 2 minutes ago, almost beat Sanford, almost beat Mercer, could have beaten Jacksonville twice. I said, again, to AY, they could be 6-3. What's changed? Talent. They've got some talent. Spencer and Youngblood are terrific from the guard line. He's got a couple of point guards that really do a good job of creating for themselves and their teammates. Peterson's man in the post, and Brandon Stroud we recruited. So this is a talented team. They're athletic. And I think you can chalk up their record to inexperience, but they're going to win some games in our league. Let's hope it's not this weekend.
Coach, last one for me. I know this was a bit ago, but when your son was playing and the whole bench was cheering him on and he kind of went off at the end of the game, I can't remember what the opponent was, but just before Christmas, what's that like for you, not only as his dad, but as a coach, to see, him have that bit of success and so many teammates, cheering for him?
Yeah. I'm glad I had a mask on, because no one could see how big I was smiling. I could hear his mom and his sister in the stands. But I think the neatest thing was Luke is such a servant. Like he's one of those kids that would do anything for anyone else's betterment. And when I saw the teammates' reaction via video, or a couple of people sent me the social media post, that makes you really proud as a dad and a coach for your son and his teammates.
Coach, so when are you going to get a Twitter account?
I don't need one. Ellie's got me covered.
We're going to create a burner account for you, Richie, Coach.
Yeah, I like my life. I like being able to get away from it when I can. So thank you. But I get enough information from others that keeps me vibrant.